Good morning and happy Thursday, or whatever day it is for anyone that's watching back on the replay. Thank you for those who are watching back on the replay. Just hit replay below in the comments to let me know that you're there. It's always nice to know that people are watching. And if you've got any questions on the replay, feel free to whack them in the comments and I will come back and respond. Hello, whoever's watching. I can't see any names of who's watching because I'm not using Facebook directly. I'm streaming via StreamYard with the wrong logo. That's better. Hello. Hi. For anyone who doesn't know me, I'm Duncan from Mind Affinity. If you're watching this, you probably do already know me. And I'm a therapist and coach, and I empower people to help themselves, which is pretty cool. I love my job. So, yes, I'm starting a new series. It's going to be officially starting from next week, but this week I'm coming on to do an introduction to it to explain what it's all about. If you've watched one of the future episodes and you're coming back in time to watch this to understand a bigger picture about how those future episodes all fit in together, then welcome. I'm in the past. Anyway, I'm going to focus on those people that are actually watching live now. That makes more sense. So, cognitive bias, what is it and what does it mean? Oh, hi, Adele. Hello, James. Cheers, cognitive biases, they are something that we all have. It's something that we all do as humans. Basically, it's shortcuts that we take to help us with our decision making. Many of these are thought to have evolved over a long period of time. Ultimately, when we try and understand ourselves as humans, one of the easier ways of putting things into context is to think back to our more, I was going to say more natural state. That's not accurate. Our less evolved state, I guess. So if we look back to caveman times, that's how we are physically, biologically built and designed to act and react as animals. We've evolved hugely technologically and culturally over the last years, but actual physical evolution takes a little bit longer. I mean, to an extent. And so there's a lot within how we act and how we behave and how we think that ties in with our sort of animalistic selves. And part of what we're designed to do, one of our core things as creatures, is we want to preserve energy. So we want to get the maximum amount of gain possible for the minimum amount of input. Okay, quite simple. Ultimately, our biggest driver is to survive. And then as part of that, the 3 F's play a big part. So we need to feed, we need to fight. So that's we need to eat food, we need to fuel ourselves. We need to protect and defend ourselves and our tribe and our families. And we need to fornicate so that we can procreate and continue our bloodline. Those are the things that matter most to us on that deeper level. So one of the ways that we can preserve energy to make ourselves more efficient is by one of the organs that takes up some of the most energy is this one here, our brains. So we want to an extent, minimize the amount that we're using our brains in unnecessary ways. And so if we had to think about, yes, you do have a great life for very little work, Sarah. Until, of course, you look at your family and then you realize you've got a lot of work. So yeah, when we're thinking about it in that sense, one of the things that we do naturally as animals to make that whole thing easier is we take a lot of shortcuts. And some of these shortcuts are really simple, obvious ones that just serve us and are perfectly sensible. And some of them we've taken it a bit too far. We've got a bit carried away with ourselves. So sometimes that will be something as simple as we build schemas, so we build understandings of things around us and how they fit into our world. So that could be as simple as we look at a chair, and every time we look at a chair, we don't have to look at it, examine it, and work out how to use it. We just go, oh yeah, that's a chair, I can sit on that. We don't have to rediscover everything every time we see it. Could you imagine how difficult it would be to move anywhere, get anywhere in life, if we didn't retain some elements of information about items and then have those shortcuts to say, oh yes, that's a pen, that's a chair, that's a table. Don't end up sitting sideways on a chair. Well, you might do, but you know that you're sitting sideways on a chair. So that's a really basic level, but then we take it way beyond that. And in our current culture, especially in this modern world, things are way more complicated than we were initially designed for, thanks to our amazing ability as humans to communicate, to be self-aware, which of course gives us great foundation and opportunity to grow and to develop ourselves in the direction that we choose, which is really cool. But part of us being self-aware in the way that we are also means that we make mistakes and we're fallible. Okay, and so the point that I'm getting to, and what this series is all about, yes, I am getting to a point, is cognitive biases. So when we need to make a decision, and that could be a decision that we don't even realize is a decision, that could be making a snap judgment on another person, that could be identifying something as a threat. And all of this tends to happen before we're consciously aware or noticing that we're doing it. We have certain structures and systems in place, if you like, shortcuts to make that process and that decision making easier for us. Yeah. For example, so, you know, it evolved from really simple examples like if someone's smiling, we assume that they're happy, and that makes them seem less of a threat. There's a great simple example. If someone's confident, they're far more likely to get along with other people because other people will see that confidence and go, ah, they're a strong, confident person, and become more attracted to that. So, but it can get in our way as well. We can trip up and stumble over all sorts of different things. Sorry. Cool. Yeah, we can trip up and stumble over all sorts of different things, which gets very confusing. One of the most obvious examples of a cognitive bias is, well, there's loads. Let's go with cognitive differentiation. I'm not going to go into huge detail. I'm going to talk about a new cognitive bias each week at the same time. So Thursdays at 9 o'clock, I'll be going live and talking about cognitive biases and focus on a new bias each week. I'm going to talk about where that bias comes from, what it's all about, and how it's relevant to us in this modern age. So that could be something as simple as cognitive differentiation. So when we drive, we see loads of cars and we barely even notice them unless they're driving poorly. And so then we finish that journey and go, God, everyone's driving like a nutter today, completely forgetting all of the cars that were driving perfectly sensibly. Or we go to buy a new car and we go, oh, I've not seen that particular model in that particular color. I like the look of that. And then on the drive home, you see 6 of them in that color. And it's not that there's suddenly more on the road, it's that it's now relevant to you, so you notice them. There are many different heuristics and biases that lead us down different paths to making decisions. And the reason that I want to talk about them and explain some of them in more detail is because they have a huge impact on our decision making. They have a huge impact on our lives. And one of the best ways to control for that impact is to be aware of it. Now, one of the biases that I'll come to talk about in more detail, also brilliantly, it means that we don't necessarily notice that we're biased, and that we won't pick up on it. And that's true. But the more aware you are of it, the more you will be able to pick up on it, and therefore the more you'll be able to make more rational decisions. You'll be able to account for and allow for and understand the impact of those biases, which in turn can lead you to make take more take more control of the choices you're making and the decisions you're taking. And that is powerful. That is important. Because without that, it's just too easy to go along with what society expects, or what your culture or religion or whatever else define for you, rather than choosing your own path and deciding what actually matters to you. So yeah, that's basically it. It's not going to be a long waffly video every week. It might be some weeks, who knows, this is me after all. But the intention is that it's just going to be a short, punchy, informational video that talks about one cognitive bias each week, building up a nice series. And I will be going live. The plan is, I think, I'm going to be going live on my YouTube channel. That's right, I have a YouTube channel. There's like 2 videos on it at the minute, but with this series, I'm going to obviously be putting a lot more on there, and via my Facebook page. And then I'll be sharing it from my page into my group. If you're watching it in here, hi, thanks for being part of my group. If you're not part of my group, join my group, Empower Yourself and Others. It's a really positive, supportive place. That's right, somewhere on Facebook where people are nice to each other. Yeah, that's kind of the plan. So feel free to share it around if it's something that you're interested in, or if there's any particular biases or questions you have about how we make our decisions, then please let me know and I'll make sure to cover it. Yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and I will see you all, well, probably beforehand, but if not, you'll see me at 9 o'clock next Thursday for my first video, where I'll be talking about a cognitive bias. I haven't even decided which one yet. Probably a very common one. So I will see you there. Thanks very much.